Hello again. Welcome back to the Flyin podcast. I'm your host, Matthew Mitchell, back with my co-host, Steven Maslij.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Happy to be here.
We're back here today to talk to you about a couple things. Obviously, I think most people are aware that the NFL Top 100 list has come out, and they're still going through it, but they've been putting out rankings for all the players of this past season. The NFL Madden ratings came out. And obviously, training camp has finally started. Football is upon us. We are. Am I mistaken to say it? There's going to be a game in the next week.
It's the Hall of Fame game's tomorrow. It's going to be Browns versus Jets. It's actually my least favorite game of the year because you think football's back, and then they put in the floor stringers to start, and you're like, I don't know any of these guys. These guys probably won't even make the team, but football is back. Technically,
exactly. That's all that matters.
When we're recording this on Wednesday, but.
From now until February, we will be watching football, which is great news for everybody.
It's amazing.
To kick this off, I do want to just quickly talk over the Madden ratings, the top 100 list. And before I get into this, I just want to say to everybody that these lists are pretty irrelevant. They really don't mean much. They're just pride grabs for the players. You really shouldn't read much into the positioning of anybody or where they're at or what's going on, stuff like that. So, don't read into it too much. But as an Eagles fan talking to you, this list is a bunch of bullcrap for the most part. So,
most of the ratings are just BS. We'll get into it, but the top 100 is just a joke at times.
The top 100 is a popularity list, and the Madden ratings. As far as I'm aware, the Madden rating guy, the main guy, is a Cowboys fan, from what I've heard. So
I don't know if that's an ongoing joke or if it is.
I don't either, but it seems pretty legit based on the way things go down.
It's just absurd.
I have no source behind that, but anyway, getting into it. First, let's talk about the Madden ratings because it's a little quicker. So we had 6 guys at the top 10 in their position in Madden. Starting off, we had A.J. Brown as the 9th highest receiver at 91. This one was one that was a little bit annoying because, as we all know, A.J. Brown is one of the best receivers in the league. I mean, he's definitely top 10. I think he's debatably top 5. I'd really have to dig down into the receivers to think about it. I think when I was looking at the list, I think I had him at 6 or 7. The 2 guys over him that irritated me were Terry McLaurin and DeAndre Hopkins.
Terry McLaurin does not deserve to be above him. He has some of his moments and he runs good routes. I understand that, but it's just stat wise and just everything. It just doesn't. Yeah, you can blame quarterback play all you want, but it's just there's no reason for that.
Yeah, and you could put a million things to blame, I could say if I had balls, I'd be somebody's grandma, I mean, not balls. I just did it backwards, if my grandma had balls, she'd be my grandpa.
There you go.
I did that all backwards. But, you could bring that up for anything. You could say any situation will make the difference, but the game is the game. The game has already been played. The season has happened. The ratings are supposed to be off of that. So, I didn't think DeAndre Hopkins or Terry McLaurin were. Terry McLaurin was a little closer, but DeAndre Hopkins barely did anything last year. He played half a season, and he didn't even do much with it. So I had a problem with that. But anyway, on to the next one. We had Haason Reddick as the 8th highest edge at 90.
Also ridiculous.
Yeah, I find that a little ridiculous. In terms of his stats based on last season, he should have been in the top 3. So that one was a little bit disrespectful, but once again, you also have to take into consideration with all these players. As a team, we came in as the 2nd highest overall at 91, right behind the 92 Chiefs. And you got to think about the fact that if any of these guys are 1 or 2 overall higher, that it'll affect the team rating. And based on how the season went, the Chiefs were a better team than us. So, they have to keep that in mind when they're making the ratings, which is a little annoying. And some people get a little disrespected, but it is what it is. So moving on to the next thing, this is one of the only ones that didn't catch disrespect in the Madden ratings, was Lane Johnson as the third highest O lineman at 98. I don't think he's the third best O lineman. They had Trent Williams and Zach Martin above him. Personally, I think he's better than Trent Williams, but I know most people probably wouldn't agree with me on that. It's probably a little biased. I do not think Zach Martin is better than Lane Johnson, but I know that he's also a top 3 lineman, so it's hard to say. So, it's not terrible, but it is what it is. And then we had Kelsey as the 9th highest O lineman at 92, which, if anybody listens to the New Heights podcast with Travis and Jason, they talked about this. Jason couldn't care less about his Madden rating. He was only concerned with his toughness rating. So, he was happy with it. He got a 97. Should have been a 99 in my book, but it is what it is.
We'll take it.
But to continue moving on, we've got Slay as the 6th highest corner at 92. That's about right for him. That one's pretty right. I can't really complain about that one. And then lastly, coming in as the 5th highest tight end, we had Dallas Goedert at an 89. And the only one I had a problem with there was that they put TJ Hawkinson over him, and I guess that's kind of a tough battle. And maybe my bias is kicking in saying that I don't think it's that close. But I know statistically it is. So, it's fair.
He just like passing alone, he might be a tick above him in that. I think Dallas is a better blocker in general.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that just the way there's certain stat lines that Goddard didn't. I mean, TJ just like went off some games and it was just and it could go either way.
Yep.
One that like we didn't put on our list that's just completely disrespectful, and that's Hurts not as being being 88 overall. Are you like kidding me?
Yes,
put Lamar.
Sorry, I forgot. I can't believe I didn't put that in there,
dude. Like that's just a joke. Like you have Herbert.
Yeah,
and
so
Lamar
Hurts came in at an 88 overall, and I thought that was a little ridiculous. I mean, Lamar, you got to understand, Lamar did win an MVP already. I think Lamar gets a little bit criminally underrated most of the time. So 91 to me is a great rating for Lamar, maybe even a 93 or something. My problem isn't it's not even really the quarterbacks that are over Hurts. The fact that he's not above a 90 is a little disrespectful to me. I mean, he was just you got to come back down to it that the ratings go into last season. And I mean, not only was he the runner-up MVP, but he finished with his updated rating in from last year's game as a 93. So why is he not a 93 going into this game? I don't really understand those credentials, but I think that was another one of those things that they really just had to keep the team rating down.
But even if you want to make the argument that Lamar, he is underrated, but last year, they have similar skill set, and Hurts and Lamar was hurt last year, obviously, but Hurts obviously ran better and passed better. It just in every stat, it just I was like, ah.
I mean, that's where part of it comes into play. Since we're about to get into the top 100 list, look at the top 100 list, right? I think Lamar came in at 91. If I'm not mistaken, maybe 86. It was one of the two.
I think it was 73, and
73.
Dak was over him.
All right, well then I'm all off with
Dak was 56 or something. But
in that regard, he's up in the top half of the top 100, and Hurts hasn't even been named yet, and is going to be in the top 15.
Yeah.
So these credentials for these lists, that's what I mean when I say don't buy into it too much. The credentials for these lists are completely different in every way. They say it's off of last season, but then they also take their full career into consideration. They take into consideration the weapons that they have on their part. They take all the little things and do it differently for each list. So it's really weird. The one thing, like you just said, that is absolutely blasphemous over every list was Dak Prescott at 56 on the NFL 100 list. That was downright disrespectful to everyone else in the league. That was so unbelievable. The more I think about it, the more upset I get about it. I mean, it's crazy. Led the league in interceptions, only threw for 2,500 yards, was hurt for about 4 or 5 games. There was nothing good about his season last year. And I'm not even saying that as an Eagles fan. I'm saying that as a football fan. He just didn't have a good year last year. He's not
Like,
horrible. He still threw, I think, 23 touchdowns. Maybe I know it was in the 20s. It might be like 28. I forget. Threw a decent amount of touchdowns still. I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback, but he didn't have a good year last year.
Like it's just like how do you put him in almost like the top half, like borderline top half, and then you don't put Bradbury an All Pro corner on the list at all? Like it's there's you're never gonna get a consistent like anything with these lists. It's I think it's just to get us talking. I think they do it on purpose to piss people off.
I think so too, to an extent.
I swear they have to, because if people came to a consensus on these lists and like, yeah, there's borderline people like that should be on there, shouldn't be on there, flip flop, but like I swear they do it just to like, yeah, like talk about football again, just to make you a little angry.
Yeah, I mean, not only that, it's something to just keep the buzz going, keep everybody talking. But on top of that, we keep going back to talking about it's supposed to be based on last year. Why is the second team All Pro not on the list?
That
doesn't make any sense. In that regard, you are saying he is in the top 22 people of the NFL. So, like, at what point does this correlate? I don't understand. Not to mention that, speaking of Bradbury again, he wasn't even in the top 10 corners. He was he got rated an 85. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense sometimes.
It's there's no rhyme or reason to it. You can't. The more you get mad about it, the more it's just gonna make you like just like look in the mirror and be like, why am I mad about this? Because you already know, we know the truth, and like even as Eagles fans, even as like a football fan in general, there's certain things that go into that list. It's like why, and everyone knows it. And if you just take that with a grain of salt and just have fun with it, I guess. Like I just can't let it get to me anymore, because I just gave up on like trying. I look at the list. I always look at the list and I go, like, what is going to be stupid this year?
That's regardless, just being Eagles fans in the past year and a half, we've had to deal with quite a lot of hate, like more so than I think I've ever received as an Eagles fan. Like the amount of disrespect and hate this team gets all the time from every fan base is kind of baffling to me. Like, because when I look at the hate and what they're saying, like I can understand them just like trash talking or like saying that we're not going to be good next year or something, like yada yada whatever. But they're like downright saying that like these players are trash, they're not good, we're not a good team. Like, and I don't know where all that comes from, because I've been watching football for a lot of years, and this is one of the better rosters on an NFL team I've seen in like a long time, the past 2 years. So like I don't know. Maybe I'm too biased, but I think it's a little crazy.
It's like the Parsons comment, like he literally is saying like, oh, like we didn't lose anyone like Javon Hargrave, like this and that, and it's like, dude, you were crying on live stream when we drafted Nolan Smith at 30. Like, shut up. Like, I don't want to hear. Like, I just don't understand these comments they make. I swear they do it on purpose to trigger people and like, yeah. But it's like, dude, shut up. Like, just stay in your lane, dude.
It does drive me nuts. But to move on to the next topic, we'll get into the NFL 100 right now, real quick. We'll just run through it. We already talked about most of these guys, Madden ratings. We won't get too into the disrespect of anything. But going down the list, we had Devontae Smith come in at 100, his first showing on the NFL 100 list. And he's the only one I'll give a little background on. I do think that he should have been a little bit higher. But either way, I don't exactly know where he should have fallen either. I'd have to really dig through the list. But I felt like saying 99 players had a better season than him last year was a little high. But, that is what it is. So Devontae was at 100. At 65, Darius Slay came in. At 48 was Haason Reddick.
Also stupid.
At 41 was Lane Johnson. And that's probably the worst one, because Lane Johnson hasn't lit up a sack in 2 whole years.
Like what could he possibly do better to get
literally nothing?
The top 20, like
literally nothing. So like that one was a little crazy to me.
Like, are you like what could he do? What could he do to get a top 25? Like I don't understand. I know they're doing it based on like position players and like most important, like obviously quarterbacks, they're getting more, like obviously Patty's going to be number 1 and like this and that, and it doesn't matter, like, but it's like, dude, like I don't, and then even like obviously we love Kelsey, but Lane had a better year than it. It does. Yeah, I don't know.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but like I said earlier, basically the NFL 100 is practically a popularity list.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. At least Madden was aware that Lane Johnson was in the top 3 linemen, but it is what it is. So Lane came in at 41. Jason Kelsey came in at 37, which I don't think is too bad. I think that's a little more reasonable for him. I think Lane should have been more in the 25 range, 20 range. But
they're also going to want a flashy top 15, top 10. So they're going to put like Jamar, like Hurts, and
Jamar came in. Jamar came in under CD Lamb.
Really?
Yeah.
He was hurt. No, he was hurt last year. That makes sense.
Yeah. But he came in relatively high. I think he was in the 30s.
Yeah. Again, like, are you gonna count injury? Whatever. I can't keep complaining.
I'd have to really look at the list again because I can't remember if I saw Higgins on that list yet. And if Jamar Chase came in and Higgins had a better year, I wonder if Higgins is still coming up on that list.
There's no way.
I can't imagine, right? Like, I have to look at the list and see if I just missed him.
Because Devonta had better stats than him, which is crazy. Like, more yards and more receptions and touchdowns.
So maybe he's just not on the list then. Maybe I was overrating him a little.
But
and then lastly, so far, they just got down to 21 today, and at 22 came in AJ Brown. I think that's pretty reasonable.
Take it, top 25.
Yeah, I think that's pretty reasonable for him. And lastly, we're waiting on Jalen Hurts, who is to be decided.
Where do you think he's going to fall?
Well, I think he's going to fall in the top 5. I do. I think that, the disrespect can only go so far, and you got to give the guy his props. He was the runner-up MVP last year, runner-up Offensive Player of the Year. Or I think he was 3rd because I think Mahomes got runner-up Offensive Player of the Year because they gave it to Jefferson. But
yeah.
But either way, he had one of the best years of his career. He's only going up. And if he doesn't come in the top 10, I'm going to be really mad. If he doesn't come in the top 15, I'm causing chaos. But I expect him to come in the top 5.
Nah, I think he'll be top 5 too. If he's honestly not top 7, I'll be pissed. It wouldn't make sense. I don't know. I mean, you gonna put can you put Burrow over him?
Well, that's a great question. I don't think you can if you're going off of last season.
I don't think so.
But it's again once again comes down to where are you rating everybody. It's gonna be debatable who's gonna come on the list first. Josh Allen, Burrow, or Hurts. All 3 of them are pretty relatively even. So
yeah.
But like I said, based on last season, we should be seeing Hurts in the top 5. So we'll see.
Whatever. Enough of these stupid lists.
Yeah, we're over the list. We've all heard it a million times, and we've all complained a million times. So it is what it is. But the better way to look at it from an Eagles fan's perspective is how many guys we have on these lists. We're really blessed to have such a great roster, a lot of great players in this team. So it's all good news.
Good stuff.
But let's get to the juicy stuff, the real football.
Juicy.
And let's talk about how camp's been going. So, first thing that I think we got to talk about is Haason Reddick. So Haason Reddick was out for the first couple of days of camp. He came back, and he's looking for a new contract, which is very fair considering how good he's been playing. What do you think about it?
It's I understand why. I think that what is going to end up happening is we're going to give him the back end money now. I think he's not going to restructure for this year. I think it's not going to be a crazy amount that we're going to pay him out this year. I think he just wants to get, since he had such a phenomenal season last year, basically the back end money now, maybe a longer term deal. That way,
he wants a longer term deal and he wants an extension.
I mean, he got a 3-year contract for $45 million. That's right up there.
Yeah,
but I think I just think, I mean, it makes sense because this is his highest value that he'll ever be, and I don't blame him for asking for it. I was kind of annoyed when he was sitting out. Obviously, they called it a groin injury. It wasn't. He pretty much said that they had to list it as that, so he still gets it wasn't a problem. But I'm glad he's back. I'm glad he's I'm pretty sure Howie and Jeffrey will work this out to a point where everyone's happy. That's usually what happens. I'm assuming they had a conversation since he did come back like right away, saying, "Hey, we're gonna pay you. Just like relax. Like, gonna come."
Yeah, he did say he's going to keep working and that the contracts sort themselves out, so he's not terribly worried about it. He just wanted to make it known that he wanted his money, which I think is, I feel like there's better ways to do it than to make it public news, personally. But at the same time, like you said, somebody that's betting on himself now has to bet on himself now, and it's a business. He does have to do what's best for himself. The only thing I wish that he had done differently was that he didn't make it some big news thing. Like, I don't think everybody need to know about that. I think Howie's always been very good with structuring contracts and helping out players, making sure they get what they deserve. And I think that they could have had an in-house conversation about it before he decided to sit out and make it news. But maybe I don't know what kind of conversations they did have about it. So,
Yeah, I mean, hey, maybe it was in house if someone leaked it. It's always like,
yeah,
you never know, but I'm assuming they're gonna keep it in house because he said that I think because it got public, more of so yesterday. I think him coming back was more of a statement of like, we're cool, we're keeping it in house. So I think that's what I took from it, at least.
No, I think you're right. Going on to the next point, let's talk about how surgical Hurts has been in practice so far. Obviously, practice is practice. Hurts is not getting hit by anybody, so it's a much safer pocket. He feels a lot more comfortable. But he has been darn surgical so far. Through the first 4 practices, Hurts has been throwing 48 for 60 with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions on an 80% completion percentage.
Killing it.
Yes, sir. I mean, practice. Like I said, practice is practice. He's playing some first team, some second team, some third team, yada yada. But it's really nice to see that he's just back where he left off, and he is just, throwing the ball accurately, doing his thing. I heard about a play where he escaped the pocket on some pressure from Jalen Carter, another good thing to hear, and threw a 65-yard dot to A.J. Brown for a touchdown.
Dude, he's locked in. Everything I heard all offseason, the whole Netflix special thing, quarterback came out and they offered it to him last year and this year, and he denied it both times because he wants to be focused. It's just like, how could he not love this guy more and more? Each and every day, it just keeps growing. Like,
you can laugh at him all you want. You can call it corny, say that he's doing too much. He's trying to put up this act that he's, doing this stuff. Like, no, dude, this guy,
he actually cares.
The guy just cares about his craft and wants to get better and wants nothing more.
And
it's exciting to see as a fan. And he is just, it's really a shame, you wish that somebody like Joel Embiid could take notes from this guy, because he's just such a prototype leader, and he's so freaking good at it. Everything from his mentality to the things he says to the way he acts, everything about it is just, it's genuinely like, it's damn near inspirational. It's awesome. I really do love the guy.
No, he's killing it. We don't gotta worry about him right now. But
yeah, we know how good he's gonna be. Moving on to the next point, just want to talk a little bit about Keelee Ringo. News has been coming out that Keelee Ringo has gotten much bigger and bulkier and has moved up to about 210 pounds, which is good and bad. You like to hear that he's getting bulky and in shape, but it's a little scary hearing about a corner getting too big. But from the sounds of it, he is not only looking big, but he's looking faster than ever, which is great news. So, and I also heard, I forget the whole list of names of who he was working with, but I know he was working with Buda Baker for a while and a few other big name guys. I want to say one of them was Jalen Ramsey, but I'm not too sure. He was working with some of the biggest corners and safeties in the league and getting tips from them and, learning to sharpen his iron off of them. And that was cool to see, especially because we've mentioned how in the draft news reports came out that his work ethic was low and that you might not be able to get him to reach his full potential, yada, yada. So far from what I've seen, he's working pretty darn hard, and he's looking like he can be a really good piece to fit in this defense eventually.
You're talking about a first-round talent that fell to the 4th round, and we snagged him. Like, it's awesome. It's awesome to hear. It's awesome to see, and I didn't expect anything less. It's Like, I mean, like it's like Nicole B. Dean. Like I expect so much in Nicole B. Dean. I expect him like my expectation is like a first round type guy, but we got him in the third. Like these guys were up there and they just slipped for this reason, that reason. But I think he'll be good. I know he's not going to start, but it's definitely great depth. Even if he comes in and plays slot a little bit, but yeah, rotate him in.
Yeah, he's not going to start right away. But he, from what I've heard, I forget. I need to make sure I don't do this too often because I just scroll through social media too often. But I did see somewhere that the Eagles really feel like he's primed to take over either Bradbury or Slay's spot once one of them leaves or retires or whatever. They are confident that he is an outside corner and that he's going to be, the next guy up, regardless of whether that's the 1 or 2 spot. And that's great news. But, I just wanted to bring this point up. I want to see what you think about it. I had a thought, and I know a few people have talked about it, that, Ringo's up to 210. He's gotten bigger. He's still moving fast. We have 2 corners. I like to think of him in a safety position. What do you think?
I feel like that's easier to say than just like it's a great idea and all. Like it could work. I just feel like if he's going to transition to that, I feel like you're going to have. I mean, the similar.
Look what happened. Look what happened to CJ last year. CJ was a corner when we got him.
But he played it in college. He played safety in college, and he.
All right. I actually didn't know that he played safety in college. I thought that was his first move.
That's the only reason like CJ went back to it. If Ringo entire time at Georgia was number 1 corner, like it's like great in theory, but it's just gonna take it's gonna take like weeks to get him onto that page. And if you want him on that page, it's not like he's gonna digress at corner per se. But if you want him I think we just keep him. I know our safeties, Edmonds and Blankenship and whoever's gonna fill in for that, but I just feel like it might only hurt him. Like if you're going to safety trying to play 2 positions, like you've done it like even like in high school, for example, like you try to switch to middle like linebacker, you were perfect linebacker side in high school, you're playing D line. It's like it was perfect, but it took a little bit to learn, and then in college you ended up being a linebacker. But how long did that take you to learn? Like it's not like it doesn't like you were athletic enough, you were built for it. You were probably more built to be a linebacker, but you know what I mean? Like
no, I completely get what you mean. I mean, you make good points, and you kind of got to decide if you think this guy's going to be the next corner up, you got to really develop those corner skills, because if you try to move him to safety in the meantime while you're waiting, then he's not getting that development at corner. So I get that, but I think it's just something the coaching staff should consider, because it's a tough spot because Bradbury and Slay aren't exactly young, but you've got Bradbury and Slay, and you have, maybe an opening at safety. Edmonds and Blankenship are, I think they're both good players. We haven't seen a whole lot of Blankenship yet. He hit hard. He flew around. They seem to love him over there. I didn't get to watch a whole lot of Terrell Edmonds, but I know that he's had a solid career, but he's on the back end of it.
Then the Illinois guy too, right? What's his name?
Yeah, Sidney Brown.
Sidney Brown.
Yeah, and I haven't heard a whole lot about him yet. I heard that he looked good in the rookie camp, but I haven't heard a whole lot about him in OTAs yet. So my thing is just like, if he's already going to be sitting on the bench all year, Ringo, which one do you think he would be better at? Corner or safety? And obviously, it's easy to say corner,
but then they got to do it.
Be a bigger need.
Then they got to make that. They have to make that decision in the next week if they want to do that, because they need to. This is the time to do it. If they want to do it, and they're going to do it, they can't be switching like when Edmonds or Blankenship, if they were to be bad like during the season. Like if you do it now,
I think you're right.
If you do it now, it can work. I understand. I think the best scenario is if you want to play safety, you have to do it in the next week, and get him snaps during preseason. And like if you want to just get him out there, like he has to get reps. He has to get actual like live reps at safety. Like I think
I completely get it, and I doubt it's going to happen. It's just a thought that went through my head, because especially with what we did with CJ last year and how well that worked out for us with him getting leading the league in picks. and only playing whatever 12, 13 games. And, Ringo just moved up in weight to 210. That's a great safety size. He's still moving fantastic. He might not get an opportunity at corner for who knows how long. Depends when Slay or Bradbury are done. We don't know if that's going to be in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So, I just thought it was something that would be an interesting thought for them to think about. I wish I could send my recommendations in, but it doesn't really work like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, either way, I think the fans should be excited for Ringo. I think once you get to see him play, he's going to be a good player.
I like it. All right. Want to talk about Christian Ellis? I didn't even know who he was until you brought him up earlier.
To be completely honest, I didn't really know who he was until I was hearing stuff about camp this year. So Christian Ellis was an undrafted linebacker that got sent to the Vikings last year in the beginning of the year. Jumped around to 4 different teams, including the Eagles twice. Practice squad. Yep, all throughout. So he played for the Vikings, 49ers, and us twice, all throughout last year. He did play in Week 18 last year. And then we released him and then signed him back to the practice squad. So he wasn't somebody that you were thinking too much about, not something you were like, he was not on the map. But so far in training camp, he has been turning heads and impressing people. Throughout 4 practices, he has, I think, 3 picks. I could be wrong. Could be adding 1, give or take 1. He's been picking people off. He's been playing well. He's been moving around. He's been flying around, getting to the right places. And before you knew it, he was getting first-team reps by the second day, and he's been staying there since. So he might be our next starting linebacker, next to Dean. Don't forget, I don't think I'm not even going to say I don't think. There is no question. They have already come out and said that Dean is the number 1 linebacker.
They love Dean.
So Dean is our starting linebacker. He's our captain of the defense. He's got the green sticker. So he's going to be our guy there. But there was obviously questions with losing Kaiser White and losing TJ, who that other guy was going to be. And we signed Anthony Morrow in the offseason. He was one of the leading tacklers of the league last year for the Bears. But it's looking like Christian Ellis might take that spot from him.
Right. I mean, this guy's. It seems like he's been hopping around for a while, and I feel like guys like this, when they get an opportunity finally, and you see him secure it, these guys are like dogs because these guys are always overlooked. I saw him. He was like, I was trying to even look up his bio, and people are like, even like Sports Reference give me different things like Idaho and then New Mexico, and even in college, like obviously he wasn't drafted, but his college stats don't show anything, but like he probably didn't get it. Like it's hard to get an opportunity, and if he gets an opportunity and secures it, that's amazing to hear because there's so many players in this league in general that just don't get an opportunity, don't get that chance, or don't perform, don't capitalize on the opportunity. So if he's able to do it and be a dog, more power to him. I think he's only going to work harder.
Yes, sir, man. I mean, like you just said, getting that opportunity is something that it's a once in a lifetime chance, and for somebody that's been dealing with adversity his whole life, trying to get himself that opportunity, sticking with it, getting into the NFL, sticking through 4 different teams in 1 year on practice squads for everyone. He's got that opportunity now, and I think it's a pretty cool story. And I'm hoping that he keeps doing well, and we get to see a little bit more of him. So, Eagles fans, keep an eye out for Christian Ellis in preseason. All right,
I'm excited to see him too.
Yes, sir. So next topic, DeAndre Swift. So from what I've been hearing from the Eagles running game, obviously people were kind of curious how much we're going to use Swift, how much we're going to use Penny. From what it seems like, I don't know how much you're going to see DeAndre Swift rush the ball at all. It's seeming like for a lot of what they've been running so far, Rashad Penny is the starting running back, but they are using DeAndre Swift a lot in the passing game and out of the backfield. So the one thing that the Eagles are going to have to do with that is that if you're going to do things like that, you're going to have one guy run the ball, one guy run the ball, one guy catch the ball. Obviously, you got to mask the fact so that defenses don't just know that you're running or passing. So obviously the Eagles are going to start throwing disguises into that. Obviously you're going to see a little bit of both, catching the ball, running the ball. But for the primary part, you're going to see DeAndre Swift catching passes out of the backfield, and you're going to see Rashad Penny in the short down situations.
Yeah, I mean, even I saw a video earlier of him lining up in the slot and running just like drag routes across the middle. And I was like, wow, they're practicing that. They're probably going to use it in the game. Like do a bunch formation over there, maybe line up a gun with Penny to Hurts' side, like, and then just if he takes a linebacker with him, or if that linebacker doesn't come, do a read like a run pass option of either throw it to him or just give it to Penny or Hurts take off. That would be great. I love that. I love to see that. I'm sure we will use them a little bit in the run game, but like, I mean, that's just not his forte anyway. Like he's always been better at getting out. If you just give him the ball in space, he's a playmaker. And obviously, I personally think if Penny stays healthy, he'll have more touchdowns at the end of the year, which it's just how our system is, because we get down within a 5. Yeah, we're QB sneaking and just running straight down your throat because of our line is just so like great. So I mean, hey, I'm excited for it. I think a gadget player only helps us. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, learning this news, I may have to unfortunately take back my stance on the DeAndre Swift 14 to 1,500 all-purpose yards, because I really think that people underrate DeAndre Swift as a running back, and I think that they buy way too much into him being injury prone, because man's been in the league for 3 years, going into his 4th year. He has missed time in all 3 of those years. I do understand. However, it's never been very extended time. He missed 1 year of 4 games, 1 year of 3 games, and another year of 3 games. So, I mean, it's not like he's getting these like career-ending injuries. He's getting little ticky-tack injuries. And on top of that, I really hate to label anybody injury prone in their first 2-3 years. I think it's a little ridiculous, but I thought that we were going to see a lot. I thought we were going to see him as our complete primary back, and you were going to see Rashad Penny occasionally.
I mean, Rashad Penny is injury prone, so we might see him as our primary back eventually. So, I mean, I love Swift. I think he's explosive. I think he's just built like massively. Obviously, going to the prep, like we got to see him a lot, like just being around here.
Yeah, we got to see it. We got to see him growing up. We got to watch him at our own high school at PW. Playing. And I'll honestly, I'll never forget watching him. I hate to bring it up, but he was coming off an injury.
Not injury prone, but coming off an injury.
He had twisted his ankle. I think he was out for a game or 2, and he was still playing at not 100%. It was a prep LaSalle game at PW, and this kid playing at, they were saying like 70%, ran for like 250 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Yeah, dude, he's a
granted, I understand it's high school. I don't really care. Watching him run the ball that day, I was just like, holy crap, this guy is going to the league and he's going to be good. So, I've always enjoyed watching DeAndre play. I think a lot of you guys are also going to enjoy watching him play on this team and the way we're going to use him. And hopefully at some point we'll get to see him get some touches in the run game and, really make his mark there as well. Not that I don't want to see Penny do that, but I'm a big DeAndre Swift fan. I hope that he gets some opportunities.
I mean, even in college, like he was behind his running back group was Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. So he's used to getting like obviously they're one. I mean, I could see them running a similar offense as what they did with them, with Nick Chubb running down your throat, and then they would put Sony Michel and him, just like kind of mixing them in / like running out and just like screens and stuff. And he was great at that. Obviously, Jamal Williams, like very similar. Last year, he got all the touchdowns. I mean, can he do it? Yes. Do I want to see it? I absolutely. But hey, it's what's best for the team at the end of the day. And if it can only benefit the team of him being a gadget player, which is a lot of running backs can't do, more power to him.
Yes, sir. So lastly, I just want to run through these last couple points. Just going to go through these pretty quick. Nolan Smith and Jalen Carter have both been playing phenomenally. They're both getting chances to go against the first team offense, and they're kicking the crap out of him every once in a while, which is great to hear. I'm sure a lot of people have heard the singular play from Jalen Carter knocking two of our starting offensive linemen on their butts and making the sack. I've heard a couple plays. Actually, all camp, including rookie camp and training camp now, I've been hearing about how freaking good Nolan Smith has looked. Almost every, training camp note I've read on a Jalen Hurts throw says that Nolan Smith is pressuring him. So Nolan Smith is just, he is just killing it. I heard he got a chance to play against he took a rep against an undrafted free agent off the edge, and he literally was not even touched. He's just so freaking fast. He's gonna be such a stud.
He's gonna be a beast, and then Carter literally might be getting double teamed at the end of the year if he able to have the power, which he's apparently been bulldozing through our line. Cam Jurgens made a point of, I'm glad he's on my team in his press conference, but like iron is sharpening iron there. So that's nice to hear.
Yep.
Speaking of which, Jurgens starting right guard.
Yep, Jurgens going to be our starting right guard for anybody that was wondering. That's pretty much set in stone now. So he was obviously a center. He's moved over to right guard, and I think that when Kelsey leaves, we may try to move him back over to center, but that is to be decided. I'm not too sure on that yet.
Is Driscoll starting at left guard? Do you know?
At left guard is Dickerson.
Oh, Dickerson. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. What am I saying?
Our starting lineup from left tackle to right tackle is Mailata, Dickerson, Kelsey, Jurgens, and Lane Johnson. It's a hell of a lineup. Lastly, right now, like we said earlier, Blankenship and Edmonds are our starting safeties. And the last thing I want to talk about is the fact that Jordan Davis has come into camp looking much leaner and much more in shape than he did last year, which is great news to hear because obviously there's a lot of pressure on him to, step up this year.
I have to ask you something. So how do you view using Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter? Do you immediately give obviously who's better, like just full out start him, or do you give Jordan Davis the benefit of the doubt that he's played in the league for a year and give him a chance to prove himself?
Davis benefit of the doubt. Davis benefit of the doubt. 1 year of experience in the NFL means a lot, first of all. Jordan Davis, not only, people are almost ready to label him a bust off of last year. It's crazy. I mean, he has a lot to prove here. He was supposed to be that guy. He was supposed to be really good. I still think he was. I think he was when he was playing. I think he didn't show up a lot, but he did his job. He filled in the tackles. He just wasn't making a big impact on the stat sheet. And then he obviously got hurt for most of the season. So we really didn't get to see much of a sample of Jordan Davis. So I want to see him first. I do. Go ahead.
For one, he just mentioned he got hurt. Two, we signed Sue and Linval Joseph, and basically like part of their like signing here, we basically told them we're going to start them and like give them reps. Like they're going to be a part of like a third down like run stopping. So like you automatically put those guys in there because they're veterans and they're decent. And like he didn't really get it like a huge opportunity to display his stuff last year. And when he did come in, he was like perfectly fine. Obviously, like we have D tackles that get sacks, but like that doesn't happen like constant. Like D tackles aren't like if you're head up to the center, you're not expected to get sacks. Like your stats aren't usually showing like 10 plus sacks. Usually not like it, but I mean it's nice when they do, but he's not like a super sack guy. It's more you're like literally clogging the entire middle of the line.
He's a Fletcher Cox kind of guy.
Yeah.
Everybody knows how good Fletcher Cox was, especially Eagles fans, but he's never been a stat stuffer, ever.
Yeah.
But people have no question how good Fletcher Cox is at causing chaos.
Because he does so much more in the middle, and it only takes away when you have to double team a guy in the middle to the guys on the outside. That just gives so much room for Sweat, Nolan Smith now, Haason Reddick last. Like it just helps everybody when you have guys in the middle. You can't. You need two guys to block Jordan Davis. Like
exactly. I mean, he's 400 pounds almost.
Yeah.
I mean,
what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Not to mention he ran. What was his 40 time? 4.9.
Yeah, it was something ridiculous. Fast.
Yeah. But I also want to throw one more piece in before we log off here that a lot of people will probably hate me for, but I just want to bring it up and keep it in the back of your minds here. If we see the Nolan Smith that we think we're going to see, we have Haason Reddick looking for a new contract, and we have Devontae Smith coming up on a contract extension sooner or later. You get in a spot where you like Devontae Smith's that guy, you want to keep Devontae Smith. And I know for a fact I want to keep Devontae Smith. Do you let Haason walk if Nolan Smith is going to be virtually the same kind of player?
So Graham's going to be gone after next year, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. That's one
Graham
piece.
And Cox will probably both be gone after next year, as well as probably Kelsey. Those are three big contracts.
Do we already have Sweat under contract for a while?
I do not know his contract details.
Like that all plays into it. I feel like having like just the way that Sam played last year was, and that obviously what Nolan Smith can be, but Haason Reddick was proven he can like top 5 defensive player of the year candidate. I understand we want to sign everybody. I can't make that I don't think they can do that quite yet.
But here's your question. Here's my question to you though. If you had to pick one, if you had to pick giving a contract to one person, would it be Haason Reddick or Devontae Smith? It's a toughie.
I think you have to see production from Nolan Smith first.
It depends on other players.
Carter. I think you have to. I think it's yes, like Devonta Smith's really good. He's like honestly, he's not even like 2 in this offense. Like he's a 1B. It's 1A, 1B. Based on
he's been in the league for 2 years, and on first year he put up 950 yards. The second year he put up 1,200 yards.
Like he might even be like 1A at times. Like there's times where you can tell like it's just to him. And then it's like,
I think in the next year or two, it's going to be 1A and 1B with him and Brown. And I don't think you're going to be able to tell which one's better.
Exactly. And I mean, I don't want to, it's like, you don't want to choose.
To me, Devontae actually has a lot more skills than AJ Brown does. But AJ Brown's just a big, beefy dude. Can't stop that man.
Yeah.
You know, Devontae's a small guy. But he's fast, he's quick, he runs crisper routes, and the way he adjusts his body for the ball is unlike anything I've ever seen.
I guess if you put me in that situation, you're putting me doing it right now, or you have to wait. I personally,
you do have to wait. I think that's a fair answer.
You have to
let it depend on how Nolan Smith plays and how Jalen Carter plays.
You have to see how they play because they haven't played an NFL snap yet. And like as much as we love camp, we love talking about it. It's happened before. I think they're gonna be. I think it's gonna be great, but it's just.
I could have asked you this question before we even knew about, before we even knew about Nolan Smith or Carter. So, like, even if you did take them out of that conversation, it's still a really tough call.
It is.
Because we're going to have to pay both those guys around the same time. So that's why I bring it up. It's going to be a tough call.
And that also might be why Reddick wants the contract now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There are things that are relevant now and things that you want to be relevant later, but it's all going to come together, And we do still have a lot of guys in this team that we have to pay.
Yeah.
So, and we're running out of room. So, at some point we're going to have to enjoy this roster while we have it because things are going to change eventually.
I feel like just position-wise, you have to keep Smith, but you just have to – I mean, just if you have to keep Smith, with that being said, because we can't draft the receivers. We can't – Devonta Smith's the only receiver we can draft that's actually panned out decently.
You're not wrong.
And we haven't had 1,000-yard receivers in so long until AJ Brown, since Jeremy Maclin maybe. Is that the last one?
It has been since Jeremy Maclin.
That's ridiculous. Andy Reid's still coaching. It's like you can't get rid of. Like we can get our D line back up, and Howie can draft D line, and I'm sure that I don't want to pick and choose. I'm hoping they're able to that work a little magic and restructure on both ends, but you have to pick Smith. He even had an underrated season, like more than anyone. Like you mentioned Higgins, like being there, like having a great. He was like fantasy wise, he was the top. I think he was 11 or like he was in the top. He's top 12.
He had an underrated season last year. 1,200 yards is no joke.
And it's we use him so much, and I mean I was getting more pissed off last year with the pop screens to him, but we're gonna murder him. But
yeah,
he's been great, and he's only getting better. And I think I would have to pay him, but I love Haason Reddick.
I do too. I think that right now we're in an offensive league, so I think you have to really focus on that offense. And we saw how big of a difference it made when we put the weapons around Jalen Hurts and let it fly. But it's a tough decision, and probably too hard of a question to be asking right at the end of an episode. Yeah. But I just wanted to bring it up, keep in the back of people's minds. We have a really good team, but don't forget that eventually things are going to come around, and we're going to have to make some big decisions. But hopefully we can just trust in Howie. Somehow he always finds a way to finagle these things and make it work. So hopefully, Howie can find a way to make it work for everybody, and we'll make it happen. But we will see.
Football's almost here, baby. Let's go.
Sir. Almost time for some Eagles football. Make sure everybody's going out and getting their Kelly Green jerseys. I know I'm going to.
I'm getting a N'Kobe Dean one, and I will find one. I promise. I swear to you. I don't know where they're selling them. I will customize it. I will rip off. I don't care. I'll rip off AJ Brown and put the one in. I'll put a 7 on there myself. I don't care. I needed a Kobe J jersey. He's gonna be great. If he's not great, I'm gonna cry. So.
But all right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This has been a good one. Like he said, football's back, baby, and we couldn't be more excited about it. So we'll be keeping you posted on the news and updates going on in training camp. Preseason's coming up. We'll start talking about that. Then we're going to be getting right down into the season. So stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in today, and we will see you soon.
Yes, sir.
Go Birds.
Go Birds, baby.